Well, this is a beautiful spot for flying a drone. It's also kind of challenging because it doesn't look like it, but there's some low branches along this whole scene here. And plus the light is constantly changing depending on whether you're in the shadows or things like that. But it's pretty darn cool. And that almighty oak tree there is pretty neat. But if you look out in the middle of the stream, there's some pretty low branches. Water's pretty cool. Pretty neat scene over here. Again, as you get up there, the branches go right over the stream, so you gotta be above your forced landing altitude on your drone. So for me, it was about 2.3 feet above the water. Seemed to be the sweet spot, but boy, talk about a beautiful scene. It's pretty neat.
One thing that's interesting about DJI drones, and the DJI Fly app displays a landing prompt when you're descended down to 0.5, half a meter above the ground. If you pull down on the stick for 1 second, the drone will land. That's great, except if you're terrain flying and flying along the top of a stream or flowers or do some of the things that I have. So I'm always in this situation where if I get that landing prompt, I have to pull up. And one of the things that absolutely drives me nuts about drones, in the real world, in real airplanes, to go up, you pull back on the stick.
When the pilot moves the controls forward or aft, the elevator rotates, deflecting the air and creating a force that results in the airplane's pitch changing. If the pilot pulls back on the controls, the elevator will move up, creating a force that pushes the tail of the airplane down, thereby making the nose pitch up and causing the airplane to start climbing.
And so I have to be real careful when that happens because I want to just pause and think about it. Oh yeah, here in the heat of battle, I don't want to pull back because if I do, I pull back on that stick, I will land the drone in the stream or in the flowers. So just be aware. I have looked into remapping the sticks. You can do it in the app. I've tried it. But the trouble is now I've been flying drones enough that I think that I'm better off just leaving it the standard DJI way. But that's the risk that if you're within a half meter, which is about 1.5 feet of the ground, you have to be very, very careful. So I try to fly about 2.5, 3 feet above the ground. Sometimes that works great. But again, if I go over an instruction, sometimes I'll get that landing prompt. A big helpful tip is to think of the left stick as the throttle. That's actually what it is. So when you push forward on it, you're actually pushing in on the throttle. And when you're pulling back on the throttle. And that's the same way a conventional aircraft works. And if you're flying underneath branches like I was, you're in a situation where you cancel the return to home, but then you've got to get home before you actually deplete the full battery. And in that situation, I know how to cancel the return to home in trying to get back before I actually ran out of battery, which shows that I'm an idiot. I should have watched the battery state and came back a little sooner. I actually hit a branch, but no harm, no foul. The drone recovered. I was able to fly it back and land where I took off from. And so, again, it's great proficiency. The smartest thing I did was to pick my DJI Air II, which I consider somewhat of a disposable drone for these kind of practice things where I'm trying to maintain proficiency.